guys? Welcome back. Look at that. I love that song. I love this movie. I love you guys. What's going on? Maybe, have we met before? I don't know. I'm Carson. This is Groot. You've definitely met Groot, if not me. But what's up? We're the Filmstruck Film Club. Not just him and me. You know, there's more of us. You're one of them, I think. I hope. But if you're not, then welcome. We watch a movie all the time. We watch a movie a week. That's what we do here, Filmstruck Film Club. A lot of times we're watching movies on the Criterion Channel. And a lot of times those movies are available other places too, which is great. But if you have a Criterion Channel subscription, you're going to get the most out of this club. So something to wish for from Santa this year. But what's going on, everybody? We watched a really cool movie this week. I had seen this film once upon a time, quite a long time ago. I think I saw this movie for the first time when I was in high school, which was probably too soon. Because when I first watched this movie, I was kind of traumatized. I thought it was just too fucking weird. But I have since grown up, watched a whole lot more movies, and even some more by this film director. Perhaps you're familiar with this film director. Maybe you've seen other films by this person. I mean, we've watched some of this person's films in this club. We watched their first film, Eraserhead, a long time ago. If you've never seen Eraserhead, that's probably the weirdest one. But who knows? I mean, that's a matter of opinion, is it not? We did watch Eraserhead. Big fan of Mulholland Drive. It's right here. And then this week we did watch David Lynch's 1986 super classic, Blue Velvet. Sorry for yelling, but I really got a lot more out of my experience this time around. When I first watched this movie, I think I had only seen The Elephant Man, which I recently rewatched and is very, very good still. It's so good. I think John Hurt probably should have won Best Actor over Robert De Niro. Yeah, I said it. But yeah, between Mulholland Drive, Eraserhead, Elephant Man, Dune, this Twin Peaks. What's up? I watched Twin Peaks. That's a good show. But yeah, I had not seen any of these things before I saw Blue Velvet, so I don't think I really had like the exact context to really like get into this film. But in rewatching it now, I just got so much out of it. I think it's a beautiful film, and it's terrifying. It's very dark as well. But I feel like I understood a little bit more the mission of the film. It is his fourth feature film after the magnificent flop that was Dune. He wanted to kind of get back to what he did with Eraserhead, which is I want to make a movie that I want to make. So turns out this is a great story. I only recently learned, so if I leave some stuff out, what can you do? But he had a producer in Dino De Laurentiis who gave him, I will let you make whatever movie you want to make, Dave, but you got to make it 2 hours and for $6 million or less. And so David Lynch finally got what he'd been wanting for almost 10 years, which was just leave me alone and let me make the movie I want to make. Apparently this script had been like making the rounds a little bit, late 70s, early 80s. A lot of people just said it was too dark, too intense. Particularly the role of Frank Booth, which went to Dennis Hopper, and he is insane in this movie as Frank Booth. But apparently, like, everyone that would read the script that was getting offered this role would just turn it down and say, this is way too gnarly. And then, of course, Dennis Hopper gets his hands on it and says, I have to play Frank because I am Frank. Now, if you've seen the movie, you know that he probably shouldn't go around telling everybody that. But yeah, this movie, man, it's got Kyle MacLachlan, who's like David Lynch's go-to guy, it seems. He's the star of Twin Peaks. He's the star of Dune. He's the star of this film right here. Isabella Rossellini, who I didn't know this, but her parents are Ingrid Bergman and Roberto Rossellini, the classic Italian film director. So she was a model, I guess, before this film, and then she comes out and just lays out one of the most insane performances I've ever seen. Like, this poor Dorothy. Poor Dorothy, you guys. But yeah, I mean, Laura Dern is in this film as well. Apparently the role was going to go to Molly Ringwald, and her mom disapproved, and so then Laura Dern got to do it. And I wonder what world we would have lived in if Molly Ringwald was in Blue Velvet at the end of the 80s. I don't know. You could imagine that all you want. But yeah, just briefly, Kyle MacLachlan's character, Jeffrey, he's home from college. He's visiting his sick father, and he finds an ear in the field. And he does exactly what you're not supposed to do, and he removes the evidence from the scene of the crime. But anyway, he takes this ear to the police station, and a mystery starts to unfold itself for our young Jeffrey. And he realizes he's going to take things into his own hands and try to get to the bottom of this. Yeah, this film has been like talked about and theorized on by so many people that like I just don't even think I'm going to get into too much of the nitty gritty. I will say that something that was not clear to me years ago when I watched it the first time, that was much clearer now, is this notion of like nothing is as it seems on the surface, right? So like at the very beginning of this film, you see this idyllic American town, slow motion waving guy from the fire truck, and it almost feels a bit like a Norman Rockwell painting. It feels a bit like Twin Peaks. And but then, you know, all of a sudden, and we're listening to the song Blue Velvet. It's beautiful. And we're just like, oh, it's very like 1950s Americana feeling, and dude's watering his grass, and then he just like has a heart attack and falls over, and the dog is eating the hose water, and like all of a sudden it just like seems a little weird. And then we kind of go into the grass and look at the bugs, and so it's kind of like a pretty in your face symbol of like, once you get beneath the surface, it's kind of gross. And so that just is kind of this recurring notion throughout the film of like what you're looking at is not necessarily everything that's going on. In fact, in this small, idyllic American town, there's a very dark, seedy, dirty underbelly that is very much kind of personified by Frank and his crew of Pabst Blue Ribbon drinking weirdos. But yeah, I mean, you know, this film's got a fair amount of violence, fair amount of like pretty intense sexual content. But I mean, there is a scene that it's a pretty long scene, but it is gripping. This scene where Jeffrey has Kyle MacLachlan's character, he's broken into Dorothy's apartment. He's gonna watch her to sort of try to understand a little bit more about her and maybe get some clues about this ear that he found in the field. And man, the turns that just keep coming through that scene, the tension you feel while he's in the closet watching her get undressed and go take a shower, and then once she discovers him in the closet, and then what she winds up doing with him once he's discovered, and how all of that all of a sudden gets the rug pulled because there's another knock at the door, and we fucking get introduced to Frank Booth, who's a gas-huffing psychopath who says the famous line, "Don't fucking look at me," which we just got to talk about it. The scene is terrifying all the way through. It's so gnarly. But in its unrelenting intensity, it's sort of funny what's happening because it's so fucking weird. Frank is such a batshit lunatic that sometimes, even though we are watching a very disgusting scene go down, just the way he is, his brand of disgust, kind of comes off as funny sometimes. I mean, he's saying, you know, baby wants to fuck and all this weird shit, and it's just so out of anything any of us have ever seen that kind of can't help but laugh a little bit at how uncomfortable it is. Mind you, not everyone found it funny. Famously, Roger Ebert gave this film a 1-star review when it came out. He thought it was just despicable and disgusting, and that David Lynch had totally sexually objectified and used these people in this film in a horrible way. And that's a very hot take to look back on, because now it's, you know, everywhere people think it's one of the greatest American films of all time, one of the very best films of the 1980s. There was some list that came out where it was like the number 4 best movie of the 80s after Raging Bull, E.T., and Wings of Desire. So it's like, this film has definitely gained its reputation over time. It came out and made quite a stir. It was nominated for 1 Academy Award, Best Director, which is kind of cool. And Dennis Hopper wound up, you know, winning some awards here and there and getting nominated and getting recognized for his work as Frank. And the AFI even named him one of the greatest villains in cinema ever. I mean, like, there's just a lot going on. And in looking back and watching this film again, I was just kind of like, oh, he almost invented like this new sort of tone about like an American family drama or something. I was wondering to myself afterwards, I was like, would there be an American Beauty without Blue Velvet? Would there be a Donnie Darko without Blue Velvet? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But American Beauty and Blue Velvet, I feel like, share a similar thing. They're almost like spiritual cousins in a way. Of course, American Beauty won Best Picture and a bunch of Academy Awards, and you could argue that American Beauty is almost like a watered down pop version of Blue Velvet, which I don't know if anyone's ever been a dick enough to say that, but it's a feeling that I had after finishing the film where I was just like, huh, there's similarities, and the main similarity just kind of being that like you never really know where it's going, and by the end, once you see that it's this similar thing of like nothing is what it seems on the surface. But yeah, I mean, I don't have much else to say other than like Dean Stockwell, R.I.P. and what a show-stopping scene that he's got. I mean, he's got that like white makeup on. He almost looks like, I don't know what the period is in France where people were looking like that. And then he beautifully lip syncs that Roy Orbison song into that lamp, and it's just an iconic imagery moment. But yeah, I don't want to take any more of your time. All I want to say is that Blue Velvet was such a great thing to revisit, and if you've never seen it before, but you're watching this, go watch Blue Velvet and enjoy. It's a strange trip, but it's cool. Yeah, I wrote down some other stuff, but I'm gonna leave you alone. We're gonna watch some more movies, so be sure to follow Filmstruck Film Club so that you can be up to date on what we're watching. But dig through, man. We've watched so many great movies. Like, just go ahead and look through what we've watched. You can check it out on Letterboxd, on our Facebook group, and Instagram. Everywhere. It's everywhere. Everywhere, man. But yeah, group, let's get out of here. You guys enjoy. And David Lynch, am I right? What a guy. All right.